Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it's your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and what John likes to call me, your existential Mr. Rogers. And this is Andor Aftershow for episode 11. And you know what? I have a special surprise for you today. I am accompanied by Mr. Jonathan Boyko.
Hello.
We had a great show a couple shows ago.
Yeah, I think that was episode 5, I want to say.
Yeah, it might have been that long ago.
Because
Wow.
it wasn't, it was the one before the, dude, or was it episode 6, the big one?
I'm not sure. It could have been the big one. I just found your commentary very erudite.
Well, thank
and
you.
helpful. So it's great to have you back.
Got my mustache, I've got my green tea, I'm ready to roll.
Hopefully Luthen and Saw Gerrera will not cut you loose and call it war.
Let's call it war.
That was awesome. This is, everyone, a full spoiler discussion of episode 11 of Andor, which, boy, I mean, talk about teeing up a finale. Mm-hmm. Wow. So this episode, first of all, let me ask you, what did you think of this episode?
I loved it. It was a little slow burn.
Yeah.
But I'm getting more.
As opposed to the rest of the series.
Yeah, but I mean, like within the series, the intercutting of the different, I felt with Mon Mothma, man, you can start feeling the walls coming in on her.
Man.
As she's like, I messed up, and then I went to the wrong person, and now I messed up even more. It kind of makes sense. She's going to have to be in a really desperate moment to where she's just off planet and delegating this rebellion. So,
somebody said, I don't know if it was on Twitter or something, that they want to see a Mon Mothma series that takes her from wherever Andor is into the original trilogy, and through Star Wars. What was Mon Mothma doing between Star Wars and Empire until we get to Jedi? I'm like, I'm so there for that. They just need to, I want to know all about Mon Mothma's entire life from now on. But what I loved about this episode was it really ended a lot of storylines, in terms of, is Bix lost forever?
I don't think so.
Luthen's, that was so just, when they take her into the room, I'm like, oh, man. And then, of course, our favorite droid is the most emo he's ever been.
I know.
I mean, I was just, you're as an audience member, that opening scene when you're seeing like through his eyes, and I felt like all has been lost.
Well, they're showing that moment that so many, even in life, our lives, it's that calm before the storm. It's that moment where you feel like everything is about to either go really bad or really wrong. And all I can do, I'm a bit powerless. All I can do is wait, let the cards fall where they may, and hope that my decisions were right. And that's what we're in that moment. When they flip those cards over, were they right or wrong? Because right now it seems like the Empire is winning, but are they?
But I just loved how they sort of, every story was taken to, I love the scene in Luthen's shop where his assistant's like, you're doing this all wrong. Shut the F up.
You need to leave.
Oh yeah, you need to leave. Where's protocol? And she's like, it's people like that ruin a resistance.
She's getting a little entitled because she's like, well, I just served up a victory.
Aldani, yeah. And this woman's like, there could be listening devices everywhere. Every word you say can and will be used against you. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this. I love that because you see this utmost professionalism, and then somebody we just, like you said, the most entitled people. That's why you lose. That's why you lose wars. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, this is such a random thing, but in Goodfellas, after the Lufthansa heist, everybody comes into that bar and I've got my new Cadillac and here's the new mink coat.
And they literally told him to stop spending.
Yeah, and Robert De Niro comes out and goes, what are you doing? And then he realizes all these people gots to go.
Yeah.
They are all liabilities. And when you're part of anything like this, whatever criminal enterprise or whatever rebellion, it's a 24-hour-a-day job. There's no time off. And when you decide that you're too entitled or you're too important, you're not. And look, the scene with Saw and Luthen, it's like whatever thing was going down, the way it's like, Luthen's like, got to come loose. Got to come loose. He
made Saw make the decision because he wanted to make sure that you understand, I'm in this for the long game. I'm not like a spy. I'm not a double agent. So you make the call. You tell me what really makes sense here.
Well, how great was it when Luthen just turns and goes, "He told me." You know, I mean, he
literally,
and it was so. Well, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
And Luthen's like, he makes his point in a second. You see, this is what's going to happen, and I was able to disrupt your own organization with one comment in front of you.
Well, and preceding that, he got Saw freaked out. You could have an agent here,
Right?
Is there an agent here? You know,
I mean, there's a great, not to bring it back to Star Trek, but there's a great 2-part Deep Space Nine episode, Homefront and Paradise Lost, with it during the Dominion War, where this changeling is like, Earth is all in a tizzy, and the changelings are like, you know how many changelings we have on your planet? I think it's like 3 or 4. That's it.
yeah.
And we've ruined your entire way of life. And it was, I mean, the writing on this show, I mean, this episode, it was like, this was like, it reminded me also of a series of vignettes you might read in a comic. We've now checked in with all of our characters, you know, and that would be the issue before whatever was going to go down went down.
You read my mind. So when I was speaking about that earlier with the pacing, it's either a very good thriller novel,
Right.
or very well written. Usually the sagas, right?
Yeah.
So not like your month to month like issues, but the sagas where you think, okay, we've gotten through the rising action. We're now like in comic number 4 or 5, and it seems like all's lost. How are they going to win this? Except there's that one thing that the bad guys didn't realize, and it ties everything together.
Yeah.
We're on the cusp of that.
And I have to say, finally, we got some Star Wars in our Star Wars show. In the Eye, in episode 6,
Yeah.
we saw a little bit. But man, if you didn't love Luthen before, what an... I mean, this
Cool,
was...
calm, and collected.
First of all, the visual effects in this sequence are just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
And the way they show a planet, I mean, that was so redolent of Tatooine when you first see Tatooine in Star Wars. I mean, this is almost a replay of the opening of A New Hope, but in reverse.
Right.
That's the blockade runner. There's a Star Destroyer, but the blockade runner's like, no, you guys don't know who or what I am. And Luthen with his and calm, cool, collected. Yeah. I mean, he knows what's up. Now, we see a weapon we've never seen before, a space-based. I mean, this looks to me like, I don't know, Sith lightsabers.
Yeah.
On a ship. I mean, like you said to me, are there kyber crystals? Well, we know Luthen had kyber crystals to give to, or a kyber crystal to give to Cassian Andor.
Right.
Perhaps that the kyber crystal that belonged in his wooden lightsaber hilt, if that's what that was.
Right.
I mean, Luthen has, after this, might be top 5 Star Wars characters of all time for me. I mean, this guy, he's the Luke Skywalker of the 21st century, grown up. You know what's funny? This is what Luke Skywalker should have been in Last Jedi.
But we did see a little bit of this Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian.
Yes. Yeah, you did.
Where
you
he
did.
comes in, he's just very calm, and he understands the Force very well. And he took out all those Death Troopers, you know.
I mean, it's so funny because it's almost like this character of Luthen is a response to Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker and the entire Disney sequel trilogy, because here's a guy. Now, I don't know if Luthen's a Jedi,
Well,
but I think it's strongly implied that if he's not a Jedi, maybe he's a Sith, people are talking about. But the fact is, he really knows what he's doing.
you know what the best thing, I just came to me, the best thing about Luthen's character is that he is making us unsure of who he is.
Right.
We don't
Yes.
even know if he's literally a Jedi or if he's just some amazing agent or what.
Well, you know, and to me, this is it made me realize, like, one of the things that always rubbed me the wrong way about Last Jedi, for instance, is that Luke sees the power of the Sith rising in Ben Solo, and immediately I'm going to kill this guy in his sleep or whatever. Luthen is so much way beyond this idea. Luke would never have done that.
Right.
He wouldn't have been freaked out by this. Luthen's the kind of guy, I've already sacrificed everything. Like, he talks the way, if Luke was really that much of a burnout living on Achto or whatever, that means, compared to Luthen, Luthen's, I was there when the Jedi Temple was destroyed. I saw all of my Auror killed, all of my friends, all of my family. I've given it all up. And he's like, but I'm fighting for another day.
Right.
Like, I don't care that I've lost it all. I'm not going to go sequester myself away and read my Jedi texts and
Yeah,
talk to Yoda.
At the end of A Force Awakens, I thought this is perfect. It's leading into like, Luke, we need you, and we're gonna be so happy to see you.
Yeah.
And then we were just like, oh,
No. I mean, Luthen is what we should have been getting the whole time. I mean, from his speech last episode to this performance, calm, cool, collected under fire, turns over what may or may not be a lightsaber, looks like a lightsaber to me, but that ship, which...
I kind of thought that too.
Okay, maybe he carries around his own...
He's on his way to his
Kevin
own
Michael
seasoning.
Jordan, he has to bring his own seasoning.
Could be that way.
Yeah.
But what I loved about that is even the designs, like you pointed out, that was a Macquarie
Right.
concept Star Destroyer
Yes.
from early on,
Yeah.
maybe from A New Hope, and then even Luthen's ship has that the original Millennium Falcon cockpit
Where it's in the center. Yeah.
right? Far more effective than say, oh, we're going to go back to concept X-wings and the sequel trilogy, but just paint them black,
Right.
and have everybody go, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, man, I want models of both of those ships. And Luthen's countermeasures. Oh, your tractor beam's on? Let me help you with that.
And essentially, it just released. It didn't project it because it just got sucked in by the tractor beam.
Yeah.
It was like playing tug of war.
Yeah.
And then letting go and letting the other team just go flying.
It was great. And we'd never take something from aircraft that we have now.
Right.
We saw countermeasures of Top Gun Maverick.
Dum, 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 dum.
And Luthen's just like bam.
Yeah.
And I love that Imperial, the captain of the commander of the Imperial ship, when he's just watching his giant deflector or their tractor beam
get
dish
evaporated.
coming. Yeah, it's just
and go off into orbit. I mean, the reason why that worked is because Luthen fundamentally understands Imperial protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So while he was being calm, he's like, I know the steps he's going to have to go through because he's got to bureaucratically report all of the steps he went through.
Yes.
And then they're going to question why he didn't go through those steps. And so I've got time to come up with a fake call sign. I've got time to set my countermeasures. I've got time to be like, oh, my thruster's overheating.
Right.
I'm by myself. Hang on. He was just playing the role the whole time.
playing the role the whole time. And then I love when he turns around and flies directly at the ship where their own turbo lasers are taking out their own wing of TIE fighters.
Because you're just thinking, oh, he's going to go to hyperspeed right now, but he turns around and
right into the incoming fire,
Right.
which took a few out. Oh man, I loved it so much. And then of course, heartbreaking when Andor calls back home, makes that call. And again, Cassian, no names.
Right.
Cassian, no name. I mean, these people. This is why rebellions. This is why things don't work. People don't understand. Don't
Keep
use
your
my
mouth
name.
shut.
Keep your mouth shut, no matter what.
yeah. I was wondering if he's going to go back to that planet to get his stash, though. I'm glad they showed that.
Yeah, I was waiting too. Like, I guess they don't have really great maid service in that in Space Tel Aviv.
it was tucked up.
Yeah, it
into,
was.
like,
It was
you know,
tucked up there. It's
no one's
true.
cleaning in that.
But I love that they went and got okay. Like,
Yeah.
you wonder, well, what are they going to do now? And then they're nicely dressed as locals.
Right.
And even they have to say goodbye. We know we see that guy again.
Yeah.
Because he comes back in Rogue One.
I want to know who. Yeah. Right. Oh, he was in Rogue One.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like we got to make people know what happens. So, and then the final shot again, not a volume stage. They're standing on the beach. The sun is going down. We were talking about the rack focus.
Oh, perfect. Because I don't think I ever recall a rack focus on the horizon before. It threw me for a second, but I loved how you mentioned it too. Then it rack focused back to Andor.
Yeah. What
then
a
be-
fantastic way to end this episode.
Looking off into the horizon, and then okay, what do I have to do now?
Because what's great about this is now Cassian Andor is truly alone in the world.
Do you think he tries to contact Luthen again, or do you think he's just like, I'm trying to be out?
I don't know. Like, I really don't know. It's are they all going to come together, or are we going to see? I mean, I do think that Luthen. First of all, we don't know. Like John brought this up, we don't know who his sister is.
Mm-hmm.
Does he still have the Kyber crystal? He gave it away. I think he gave it away.
He gave it to when he left with his money. He gave that back.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and that got back to Luthen.
Yeah. Okay.
That was like his way of saying, like, I could have sold this. I'm not.
That's right.
I'm just
That's
taking
right.
my
Give it
money
back.
and going.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. So maybe it's back in the, if that's a lightsaber,
If it was part of that.
Don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on. I love this show. I mean, it is the Star Wars that we don't deserve. But
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, people are like, well, okay, but it's still, you take the Jedi out, but, the war. Well, ranks haven't been formed yet. We're not there yet.
Right.
There's not armies yet. Systems haven't defected yet, because where we find them, even in A New Hope, certain systems had already defected and then used their might of their planetary system to then, add ships, starships, whatever, men to fight. Like, we're not there yet. This is the beginning of the beginning.
And the thing is, at the time, remember at the time of A New Hope, the only Jedi they know of that exists is Vader.
Right.
You're the last, Even
in Rebels, you were, even if that's quasi canon, even in Rebels, you're further advanced into the rebellion than this. Because at that point, then you do have the cell heads know of other cells.
Yes.
But right now, you don't have that yet.
No. No, and this one guy they're willing to sacrifice.
I think there's going to be more to that.
And I think we got to see Cyril. Mom took off to go visit Uncle.
Yeah,
I think
who is Uncle? Uncle who?
Uncle who? We don't know that. And Cyril rips his mom off like any good son does at one point. I'm gonna go steal Mom's credit cards.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of that scene in Sideways where he takes the money from his mom's drawer.
Totally did. Oh man. Well, should we see what other people think of this show?
Absolutely, but first, we should probably take a break from our sponsor,
You're right. Let's take a break and we'll hear from our sponsor.
Mint Mobile.
Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home with eSIM while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say, it is the perfect time to switch. Since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been spending 1/3 of what I used to spend on my mobile service with the other big name company. And with this buy 3 months, get 3 months free, not only is it a great choice for you, but it makes great gifts for the people you love. Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here. By going online only and with eSIM and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes those significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. Or if you need a new device, for a limited time, get 6 months of free service when you buy a selected device and plan. So guys, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea.
And thanks to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this Andor After Show. One of the things I did want to say is that Tony Gilroy himself, the showrunner, the creator of this, wrote this episode. I'm sure wrote the next episode too. What a great job he did. Yeah. I mean, I'm always banging on about authorship. I want to feel that there's real authorship, and it is dripping off of this show.
From episode 1?
From episode 1. So good. Speaking of good, what do you guys think? Let's see. Motossum sends in a super chat and says, can Luthen's assistant be Andor's sister?
I mean, anything, it hasn't been established, so anything's possible.
Anything is possible. She's very good at her job.
But I don't think so. I mean, yeah. He was taken from that planet. I mean, that would be a massive coincidence.
It would be a massive
coincidence. And they were obviously split up at. Now, when did he lose her from the moment that he was basically adopted from that ship?
He got taken out of the planet.
Yeah, that would be a massive coincidence. There are trillions of beings in the universe.
It's true. I totally agree with that.
I have a question as far as Andor's sister. Do you guys think if we find out this season who his sister is, do you think it's going to be someone we've already met, or do you think it's going to be a brand new character we haven't been introduced to yet?
On this show and the way they tell the stories, I think it'll be somebody new. That's so, it's kind of cheesy if it's somebody we've already met.
Yeah. Do you think it will be addressed next week?
No,
I kind of don't think so either, but we'll see.
Kind of in the thing, they even said, stop looking for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it really doesn't matter. Mauricio Fagundes says, if Luthen really is a Jedi in hiding, why wouldn't he use the Force back when he and Andor were escaping the security officers on Ferrix? Because he wouldn't want anyone to know he is a Jedi. Luthen is the kind of guy where he's not going to give anybody any indication of who he is ever.
They don't want people showing up at his jewelry shop unannounced.
Right.
He's not going to use the Force.
Yeah, no way. No way would he use the
Yeah.
Force. I mean, here's the thing. These guys, Luthen is, as Eddie Murphy said in Beverly Hills Cop, deep undercover. He is not going to blow his cover for anything.
No.
He doesn't want anyone, especially a guy like Cassian Andor, who he really just met, to know that somebody's running around with Force powers. No way.
Yeah. And we're not saying we know 100% he is. That's just speculation, and he
Yeah.
might not even be.
Yeah, he might not even be. Maurice Seifring says, I found it an interesting detail that on Ferrex, they honor the dead by incorporating them into building materials, bricks. Nice world building. You know what, Marie? I have to tell you, when I was watching this, I'm thinking, I wouldn't mind that happening. My remains being used as a brick in a building.
Just encased in the there are rumors, right? Like of like the Great Wall, people just being buried into the wall.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Some skyscrapers around the world. There's rumors.
Yeah, people like Jimmy Hoffa
Yeah, he might be.
in the foundation or something.
I thought that was interesting too. I think that was kind of like a take on getting what's it called, like the Mandalorian and Boba Fett did frozen in carbonite.
Yeah.
You know, in a sense, but I know it's like more stone, but
But I think they probably burn you up
yeah,
too.
you become like part of the material.
Yeah, but I like that. I think that's you know, I've been obsessed with now being a tree. You know, like they bury you in those bowls.
Oh, and
they,
you fertilize
you
it.
fertilize a tree. I could go for that. Stub McShave says, I love the show, but there's been a letdown with earlier shows, and they needed to hook viewers early. Spy IPs have had great hooks. For example, the first Bourne film. Now, from a storytelling standpoint, you know, there usually is some kind of a big opening. But here's the thing. Because this movie is about a guy, I think you had to see where he was, and where he was not in any necessarily extraordinary place. He was basically eking out a meager living on the streets. Mm-hmm. So following him into this whole thing, I don't know if there's a way, if they gave you that typical big opening, it might have drawn more people in, but I don't know if it would have been honest about where the show's coming from and going.
I suppose, you know, it's the rebellion is built on common people.
Right.
Who are weighed down by the oppression of
Yes.
the empire. It's not necessarily like the hero of the day, someone with a grand secret.
Yep.
It's just
I
people that
totally
wanna
agree.
live.
That's a great point, Jonathan. I totally agree with that. You've got to see, I mean, yeah, he's scrapping and he's a low level guy eking out a meager living on this shitty planet, you know, he's got nothing going on.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, if there was some grand opening, I think it would have betrayed what's happening here.
Yeah, and you know,
point.
I kind of want to watch. Not like kind of. I do. I want to watch Rogue One again, maybe this weekend, just to get a better understanding of his kind of rank in the rebellion now. At that point,
Right. Yeah. Look, you know what? I really hope they're not going to do this, but I wonder if Tony Gilroy could go in and rework Rogue One as the final. Like Rogue One, the directors, it wouldn't be the director's version, the extended version, because they toned it down because it was too dark.
Right.
And if they could add into that and make it the movie it was going to be in the first place, I'd love to see them do that. They won't, but it'd be cool if they did. Blake62 says, Luthen Rael is becoming an overall top 5 Star Wars character to me. Yep. The writing and acting of the show is some of the best in any Star Wars thing ever. It's true.
hands down,
Yeah.
hands down.
Yeah, no, there's no question at all. I mean, look, what's interesting is we talked about how the Star Wars on the John Campea Show today has been so denigrated as a franchise. Whereas, and I'm not saying I want all Star Wars to be like this, but this has restored a luster. I mean, you put this up against Book of Boba Fett or Obi-Wan,
Right.
and this is so far beyond. I mean, it might not satisfy that fanboy Flash Gordon Star Wars
Sure.
pulp.
But we have that.
We have it, yeah.
and we'll have more of it.
And we will have more of it.
Yeah.
We got Mando season 3 coming.
I want a nice mix of it all. I want the Jedi lore.
I
I
do
want to
too.
go back in time in the Jedi lore. I want to go forward in time beyond all of the current trilogies. But I want to explore this more.
Yeah, I do too. Man, did I love this.
I'm like Kylo Ren. More.
I want more. Dan's Production says, was excited at first for Andor, but now I'm bored. Why? I mean, I understand, like, Like there's different kinds of storytelling, but why are you like when you here's the thing, tell me you're bored, but tell me why. Give me examples as to what
Tell me why.
bores you.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with that. I can understand.
be bored.
I can understand to a degree, but I would ask, are you empathizing with these characters?
Yes.
It may be that you're kind of like checking your phone, you're already kind of checked out. But if you're empathizing with these characters and what they're going through, you'll be a little more, bound to what you're watching, what you're experiencing, where it's leading. And I would also say you do know where this is leading, so just be patient.
Right. Yeah, that is very true. That's very true. Marie Seifring says, Andor and Melshi are now going to publicize the fact that no one ever gets out of the penal colony. More violent resistance from anyone being arrested. Yeah. Although I don't know if they're going to call a lot of attention to themselves while they're doing it.
Right.
No one's going to be going on the local Imperial broadcast network going,
That's the tough part, too, because when they were having that conversation on the beach, it's like, you don't have any like holotapes of what happened. And
No.
you're not going to go public that you were there. So who's going to believe you, and how do you know what I mean? Like it's a tall order.
Yeah, it is. And obviously the people that are going to form this resistance are already resisting.
Yeah.
So maybe you can recruit more people, but yeah, that's an interest. But again, Andor was not the guy saying this.
Yeah.
We had somebody else saying that. So interesting. Marie Seifring says Saw is more of a danger to Luthen than Andor. Saw actually knows Luthen's true identity. Also, great ship Luthen has. Yes, Marie, and you're right. I mean, look, I think in a way, Saw and Luthen are two different, not sides of the same coin, but they both have different. They come from different places, and I think that they both are very legitimate in what they're trying to do. But Luthen is definitely Saw's more of a blunt force trauma guy, whereas Luthen's going to stand back in the shadows and strike like a snake might and sneak off into the darkened forest.
And Luthen as much admits that in that scene, right? He says, well, why haven't you done this to me? Because you know who I am. You could be tortured and reveal who I am.
Right.
Right? I mean, as cold and calculated as that is, he put all his cards on the table. He let him know, like, yeah, I might have done it to you, but you know who I am.
And the thing is, I think that Saw and Luthen both very much respect one another. Mm-hmm. And Luthen knew exactly the point he had to make to Saw and realized that Saw's like, we call it war. I mean, that conversation, they got together, they said their piece.
In that moment, too, yes, exactly. In that moment, you saw solidarity.
Yep. There it was right there. And Saw's like, you're right.
Let's call it war.
It was great. I mean, Saw Gerrera, Hot Toys, get on that. I want those two guys now.
I'm just going to keep saying that. I'm sorry,
great.
everybody.
It's great. Alex Von Gollum says, oh, man, I knew Andor's mom didn't have much time left. I got sad with her passing. I did feel the pain of B2 emo. It was greatly directed. Great show. Ugh. Yeah, it really, I mean, who would have thought you'd shed a tear over the pain that a droid felt? Mm-hmm. It's almost, I was thinking about this in Empire when they think that Han and Luke are lost and you hear R2 going, ooh, ooh,
Just kind of cooing.
R2 has been known to make mistakes from time to time.
Right.
Oh, dear,
dramatic
dear,
pause.
dear, dear.
And we were talking before the show. I mentioned it also on the main show today that he reminds me of old Bob from the Black Hole. Yeah.
Like Slim Pickens. Speaking with Roddy McDowell. All right, what's next? Suthius says, okay, Luthen's a badass, and his ship is badass.
Yes,
you
it
are
is.
right, Suthius. This whole show is badass. But yeah, that space battle, oh my God. And you know what? It just looked so delish. The effects in that sequence were great.
And we were talking about tropes. I don't remember when. It was earlier this week. We were talking about tropes that work. That is another Star Wars trope. The Imperial officer with the 1,000-mile stare as his, like, I'm dead. I just screwed this up.
Yeah.
Looking off the bridge. And it works. That's a trope that works.
And finally, I mean, I'll tell you something. I always tell people that Return of the Jedi was the most disappointing movie I ever saw. one of the things, people are like, what? I know. But one of the things about Return of the Jedi that really bothered me is the Imperial officers aboard the shuttle in the opening of the movie when Vader lands on the Death Star 2.
Yeah.
They feel wrong. They've cast the right guys to play Imperial. The Imperial officer casting in this is great. That captain of the ship was an awesome douche. I mean, he was capable, like you said. He went by the numbers. He did everything he was supposed to do. He was even like, "Yeah, no, we're not putting up with this."
Right.
And even though he was not going to give any quarter, he still got effed.
Yeah, because Luthen understands Imperial protocol.
Imperial protocol, just used it against him.
Yep.
You know, and it's cool as a cucumber. It was all, and we were talking about the music in that sequence. I mean, it's almost like a droning ambience rather than, you know, some
We
John
actually-
Williams piece of music.
We actually rewatched it and we sort of like kind of tracked it. So you could hear like boom, 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 little plucks, and then you could hear a rising string with the tension and the sound effects. That would go, and then followed that, you start to get percussion as it was building. Then it went away, and then you got that droning sci-fi sound.
Yeah.
And then you started to get that rising action again in the strings, like that staccato, and then it hit with percussions really loud.
Yeah,
you know.
it just shows so
Yeah.
great. It's so thought out. It's terrific. What's next? Alex Von Gollum says, great performance from Genevieve. Her deep pain from her decision was so palpable. Her subtle performance said it all. What character development. Also the fact that her daughter is like lost to her and she knows
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, her daughter is already like eagerly like, yes, I want to go through the old Chandrillan ways, and I mean, she's kind of Hitler youth,
yeah, it's complete Hitler.
and that's not even a call on like I hate that girl. She's indoctrinated.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my point.
Yep.
She's been indoctrinated, and you're seeing the subtleties that the emperor and his empire is forcing on people.
Yes.
And of course, the emperor would love those Chandrillan ways because they're draconian, and they control and yeah.
And it keeps we're going to have arranged marriages at 14. You know, we're going to keep our society.
And how awful one of the leaders of the rebellion will have to resort to the old ways to get out of trouble. She's on the same plane as Luthen,
Yep.
you know?
And it's going to be her daughter that she sacrifices. Yeesh.
We'll see how that plays out.
I don't know. FPC Cat says, is it just me or does the name B2 Emo, is that just a little too on the nose? Probably.
I mean, it is, but I kind of feel like some of their droids have been on the nose.
Right.
I mean, you know? So it works.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. But yeah, it's too on the nose, maybe. But it's also, they have to have something in the show that's fun
Yeah.
and you can cry about it.
Well, Ray was like having a nervous breakdown. He's like, I can't handle the plight of this droid.
Yes.
I was like, are you okay, Ray? Do we need to watch this in a different room?
Yeah, he was really getting
Yeah.
upset. Marie Seifring says, is Vel going to try and help Mon Mothma with money from the Aldani heist, or is Vel hoping Luthen will? You know, that's a good question. Somebody's going to try and help somebody. But I also think that they can't, where would that money come from? I mean, the real question is, it's not just the money that Mon Mothma needs, it's somebody who can cover the tracks of where that money came from. You can't just throw a bunch of I mean, that would if suddenly money just showed up, and she even says it's a pretty obscure account. She's got to do something. She needs someone who can cover a banker that can cover those tracks to make it not look like
Yeah.
she suddenly it's like, look, if you're a drug dealer, you can't just put millions of dollars in your bank account.
You got to launder it.
You got to launder it. It's got to be laundered.
It was just like in Breaking Bad. He didn't even know he could have had 100 car washes and it wasn't going to launder all that money.
No. No. Santez Henderson says, seeing Bix beaten down the way she was broke me up. Look at what they done to my girl. Look what they did to my boy. She's so broken that I'm betting she will out Luthen and Andor. Or not. Or, I mean, yeah, she is broken, and maybe she will, because in this show, that's the kind of thing that happens.
She was
you know,
gray, red, black, and blue. She had crusties on her eyes. She was dehydrated. Wow.
I mean, this is not the kind of show where she looks up and uses a colorful metaphor, as Spock would say in Star Trek 4, and throw back at her Imperial captors.
Something's coming with this funeral, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it might be cold-hearted but something's coming, because I don't think we're gonna watch this woman tortured and then just slowly wither into death. Something's coming. It could. I'm not saying that it can't. But
I mean, we're seeing all the ways that the Empire victimizes people.
That's the point.
On every level of society. So, and it's forging these people into resistance warriors. You know, everybody's got their reason to fight. And that's how rebellions are born.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Paragas says, such intense scenes between Vel and Clea, Luthen and Saw, Luthen and the Imperial commander of the patrol ship. My blood pressure was sky high. Mark, I am with you 100%. And that's why, you know, I find I found the show incredibly riveting. And when people say it's boring, I understand people look for different things in entertainment. But for me, I found the show, like you said, my blood pressure is always up when I watch this. When I watch these shows, I feel tense the entire time. You know, I don't think after I knew where the show was going, beginning from episode 3 on, I'm tense for the entire length of the running time of each episode because I don't know where it's going to go. But like you, my blood pressure was definitely up.
I concur. Well, it's just like with House of the Dragon. It's just those scenes where you're like, oh God, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Jason A says, I love that we went back to the resort planet to see it empty. It really shows what the Empire is doing to the galaxy why people will rebel.
That's a
Of course,
great
it could be
point.
the off season.
It could be the off season, but that is a good point, Jason. I mean, I kind of noticed it too. I was like, where is everyone? I mean, there was someone in the hotel room.
Yeah.
But it did seem like if these pricks are just going to be gathering people to go work in their prison factories because they're looking around, why are you looking around? You know, that's another thing. The Empire does start, and we've seen it in novels and other books, cartoons, like where they're destroying the economy of the planets for the greater good of their empire.
Yeah.
And that's also why they squeeze out systems, because they're like, you're taking all of our business away to just work in your factories.
By the way, I also want to give a shout out to the alien friends, brothers, whoever those guys were with their transport.
Oh, we have him here, actually. He's joined us.
Yeah, he's been in the studio.
Yeah,
he's just been waiting for you to call upon him.
To talk.
We
I
called him
love
Mr.
these
Magoo.
aliens. I thought these aliens were great because they hate the Empire too.
Yeah.
You know,
Poisoned our water.
they were great. And again, this just adds to people because people complain, where are the aliens? I thought here these two say it all like right away. I loved it.
So these are actually strip mines. So
Right.
this is all part of what they're doing in the prison. They're not just importing those pieces to be. They're strip mining this material.
Yeah. That's what I got from this too. Is that they're just taking everything, all the resources from these planets, however they need to use them. And,
Right.
I mean, can you imagine how many natural resources it took to build the Death Star?
Well, and
Or Star Destroyers at the Kuat yards or whatever.
That's it too. You know, yes, the Death Star, but there's supposedly 25,000 Star Destroyers in the galaxy, and then probably millions of support ships.
Yeah,
it takes a lot.
a lot.
So
And they're taking whatever they want. Lewis Cook says the writing and voice acting for B2 Emo in this episode was incredible. I agree.
I love a little stutter, and it's not every time.
Nope.
but,
No,
yeah.
it's great. Again, there is no detail left to chance in the show, even though Tony Gilroy did say that he doesn't even know how much Star Wars lore the art department is hiding in the background, like of Luthen's store.
Right.
Even and he likes that.
Yeah.
He's like, I want them to do that.
There was even like, even in Luthen's store, they pull things from like our world. I mean, that could have been an Incan calendar
Right.
on the wall. It
Yeah.
wasn't, but it was so close for us to understand. Like, okay, ancient civilizations, we get it.
Maybe they got it from Namor.
They did.
Could be tie-in.
All right, so I looked up the voice actor for B2 Emo. It is a man by the name of Dave Chapman, who worked on a lot of the Star Wars stuff, including Rogue One. He's BB-8, the performer for BB-8 in the sequel trilogy. Worked on Prometheus and Jurassic World. So
Wow.
he's been doing a lot of cool
veteran.
stuff lately. Yeah.
All right.
That's very cool. Lewis Cook says Nicholas Bertel's score at the end of this episode was incredibly moving and fit so perfectly with the final scene. I totally agree. And also the Andor, don't sleep on the Andor logo at the beginning of every, go back and watch the first Andor logo and watch this Andor logo today. Really interesting. This show's great. Zach Marcello says, can we get some predictions for the finale? One of mine is that Luthen is a Jedi and we'll finally get a taste of what some want to see. I don't think that's a bad prediction at all. But I don't think we're going to get like a full-on Nabooian Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Darth Maul fight.
You might get something where he's on his ship looking out the cockpit and he wants to reach for something and he pulls it over with the
Yes.
and then it just ends.
Because he can't afford to use his force powers or use a lightsaber in front of anyone.
Right. But on a ship, no one's going to.
Yeah, he can't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point is that you give up the ghost. The idea if there's one Jedi out there, there might be more. The Empire can't know that. And Luthen's not that stupid.
Right.
You know, he said that he'll never allow that to happen.
No.
But I think that's a great idea. Like,
Just like literally like at the end, just be like, and before it even gets to him, it just
it'll
cuts.
cut. Yeah. I can totally see that. Yep. Amin says, loved the episode. Everyone needs a ship like Luthen's now. One small gripe. Andor was in prison for over a month. How is it that no one found the big case he stashed in that shower? It wasn't even hidden, laugh out loud. Well, I mean, you know, if you think about it, how many people look on top of things?
No, that was a great. I've stashed things, and that was a good place to stash. No one's ever looking in there. That's the kind of spot. You go into a hotel room and you look in those areas, they're covered in like soot from years.
Yeah.
Like, no one's. Oh come on! Like I've stashed things like in Yosemite before, not out in the forest, but just like within campsites and stuff. It's like nothing illegal.
Well, because
but
no
just
one ever looks
just like
up
stuff
there.
like where you can't take it with you somewhere, so you have to like stash it and come back and get it. Yeah, no one's gonna look up.
No one ever and if they did look up there, they don't see anything. You never think
Right.
to look like up a place like
No,
that.
you taking a shower, you want to go out on the beach.
Yeah. You come and go.
Yeah.
Cody Hunt says, Andor finding out his mother passed away hit me hard. Everything is fine broke me. The shock on his face, having to keep his composure. Waterfalls. Yeah, man. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, it was, and they linger on his face. You know, the camera doesn't cut away.
Right.
Anybody else would have cut away to see the other guy like looking at it, but they didn't really.
And you know, from a production standpoint, and I'm thinking with the director there, he made him hold that
Yeah.
to see what he could get out of him.
Yep.
I don't think that was necessarily planned, but you know, if you're directing, you're like hold,
Yep.
hold.
You just
Hold.
don't say. Say cut,
Yeah.
and you see what you
And,
get.
and they probably held it for a long time, and they used bits of that when they cut back to the other
Uh-huh.
guy or to the two shot. Yeah.
No, it was really well done. Jamie Sunday says that Scottish lieutenant was a better cameo than Qui-Gon.
The Scottish lieutenant.
The Scottish lieutenant.
Oh, I know what that's.
Oh, you mean across in the bar?
No. When he was doing the teleconference.
Yeah,
with,
the voice call.
Stereo.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
Okay.
like, oh, they got the smelter or whatever's on.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, Andor, they're gonna have the funeral. Go there.
Right. Yeah. Heck yes. That was great.
But you know what's funny? This is how, like, jackbooted these people are. You're being punished. You're working at the smelter, and you're still like, we gotta still do our job.
It's true, man. South Texas Shark says, I want a Luthen ship. Let me tell you, somebody better make a plastic model kit of that. I want to see one for the action figures. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be Andor action figures, but there should be, because I want that ship. It's badass. And it better come with the plastic snap-on.
So you can snap on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Our friend Kevin Rubio. I don't want to be alone. I want Marva. Tears. Kevin, of course, made the fan film Troops right there in our own chat.
Nice.
There he is. Yes, and that was tears. It's true. Zach Marcello says, I love the tractor beam scene. I was holding my breath the whole time. Cool scene, a new ship too. Hey, I agree. That was a badass like frigate, Star Destroyer frigate. I mean, rather than get big, it's cool that they got a little smaller, more along the lines of like the Republic Star Destroyers.
Yeah, even its wing, when they like released the wing, it was like 6 TIE fighters. It's not like a whole
Right, it's not huge. Yeah.
Star Destroyer.
It's a patrol ship. I love
It's just there to just grab small ships that are trying to like smuggle.
Yeah, like a Coast Guard ship. It was great. It's great.
It was in very low orbit too.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So good. Motassim says, after those weapons on his ship, Luthen is Batman.
Hey,
Well,
you know what? He is a little bit of a Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he is kind of a Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But he is a badass. He already sacrificed everything. Good stuff. Sam Fisher says, Luthen didn't just look cool, calm. He looked bored. Oh, I think that was his cool, calm demeanor. He was very methodical. Well, you know what I loved about it? When his droid computer system said, okay, the light speed is engaged, there wasn't like some long pause. He just like, bam, and goes.
Hit it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was no pause. There was no like, because we know that already.
Yeah. And he also knew that they weren't going to open fire on him. He knew he had time to be slowly tracked back. So it's like, okay, well, they're going to do this. I've got some time here. Just let's do the countermeasures. Let me know. He knew he was going to get out.
Yeah.
And he knew and probably that particular ship, it only had a couple turbo lasers.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing.
He knew exactly what he was doing. And it was great. Valerian Winterdrake. What a great name. Valerian Winterdrake. Says Luthen, maybe his ex-Republic intelligence, he has too much skills. Maybe he changed his face. Could very well be. I mean, he's clearly somebody that was either part of the Empire, part of the Jedi Order. He was certainly somebody. Or maybe
he knew Mon. He knew Mon Mothma before all of this. They had a relationship before, and he wouldn't have just come up with that store.
Right.
He was a trader, a proprietor of some sort.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Something. Zach Marcello says, I can't believe there's only one episode left. I am loving this show, but I'm going to be so sad when it's over, waiting for season 2. Yeah,
a long winter.
It is going to be a long winter. Everything's going to take 2 years to come back.
Some I can wait for, some I can't.
Yes.
But, I mean, totally different show, but at least we have The Last of Us coming.
Oh, man, I can't wait. And that's in January.
January 15.
Man, I can't wait for that. They're keeping us going as long as I keep getting entertained.
We might have to shift the Weekly Hero a day or it's like Wednesday or something because that'll be Monday.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
You know what's good about Andor season 2 is it begins filming the Monday before Thanksgiving, so November 21st.
That's
so we're
this
not
Monday.
Too far, yeah. Oh
So
wow.
we'll have news. We'll have news coming out, and we'll be covering it on the John Campea Show.
Yes,
but we'll have that at least to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So
can't wait. And we got Mando season 3 coming to bring you that
Mando.
Star Wars swashbuckling that you want.
Yeah.
By the way, Hot Toys did drop Bo-Katan in Hong Kong this week, so hey, for those of you who can buy overseas figures, you can get Bo-Katan now with that cool head sculpt. Vixter 5001 says that last shot on the beach made me think of the end for Cassian in Rogue One. I'll find that film even more emotional after this show. Oh, I agree. I think all this is doing is plussing. Yeah. This is just adding to the Star Wars mythos in a big way. I can't wait. Can't wait to see where it goes next week. A. Marcellus says, do you see Andor eventually reuniting with other prisoners and having them the Rebel Alliance? Those were 5,000 pissed off guys. The rebels need numbers. Maybe a few. I would imagine most of them end up dying. They end up dead or worse. I think only a few probably survived that swim, and even less once they got to shore, got off world. But maybe. I mean, look, I think that we're seeing that you don't just need prisoners to start a rebellion. You've got people joining the rebellion from the highest ranks of culture now with Mon Mothma and her ilk.
Right.
We'll see even more of that. Idealists. Zach Marcello says, been thinking this for weeks. Am I the only one that gets Carrie Fisher vibes from Luthen's assistant? Oh, yeah. But again, I don't think Tony Gilroy's like no fan service. I don't think that's... People have suggested maybe that's Leia.
You're getting echoes. and that keeps it's fan service without fan service,
Yes.
because you're getting echoes in performance and archetypes. Yeah.
100%. And by the way, this episode shows just how capable she is. She's great at her job, and I love that. I love the fact that these people are shown as being really competent, as opposed to, I hate movie incompetence, when people are shown to be incompetent just because you need them to be that way. That means the writing for me in the show is even stronger, because there's no one like that.
Right.
So, and yeah, I wonder where Cyril's going to wind up next week too.
Well, I think he's going to get back to that planet for the funeral,
Yes.
and then we'll see what happens. With this, well, they said 50 men, and then they reduced to 31 men. So
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
Don't know.
Tune in next week.
Zach Marsh. Oh, I already got that one. Kevin Rubio sends in another super chat. Connecting Andor's sister to an established character just makes the universe small again. I believe that she's dead. Yeah, and you know what? I could see them in this show. He'll discover that. He'll come across that, and because this is the anti Star Wars show in a way. Like, any happy endings you think that these characters are going to have, they aren't. We know that Andor doesn't. So none of these characters.
yeah.
I mean, what's really interesting to me about the whole thing about, we know that of all these characters, the only one we know winds up in a pretty good place is Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at least by the end of Return of the Jedi,
Now,
and we know who she winds up with at one point.
right.
Manuel Both Hands.
Is she going to the newest trilogy when they release Starkiller Base and they blow up multiple planets? Was she on the
Man, I hope not.
home planet of the new Senate?
Wow. Do you see her? Do you see Mon Mothma?
Because now I can't remember.
Yeah, and you know what? That makes me hate the Disney sequel trilogy even more now. If Mon Mothma was destroyed by
I
a
can't
beam
remember-
weapon that turns in space.
Because it wasn't her on the ship in the Last Jedi that was working with Leia.
No, that was Holdo.
Yeah. I don't know. That was kind of a bummer. I'm sorry, guys.
That bothers me.
I don't know that
now
I'm right. I'm just
no. I
asking.
mean, you've just made me doubly sad. Thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Triply sad, because now you're going to be forced to rewatch it to see.
Yeah. Well, at least I have the 4K.
Yeah.
Or I could watch it on Disney Plus.
There you go.
Let's ask our friend, see if he has any insight.
Do you know where Mon Mothma winds up, dude?
They poisoned our water. They poisoned our fish. Okay, I'm sorry.
You know what? He looks like the alien. They made an action figure of him for Return of the Jedi, but he was more green and yellow. It was a Kenner figure, and I forget what he's called.
Was he the one with like the big sloping kind of face?
Yeah. And then the arms. That's
Yeah.
what he looked like.
Yeah.
He looked like, but they toned down the colors.
I never owned him, but I know the one you're
Yeah, I
talking
had
about.
him. That's what he looked like, because he looks like a frog. He looked like, Weequay and Ree-Yees and all those characters.
Oh, I think I see her talking about.
Yeah, it was a figure. It was a Return of the Jedi Kenner figure, and I'm wondering if that's harking back to that. I don't know if he was in Jabba's palace. I don't remember, but I have
this
the
guy?
figure. No, that's
No.
no.
He's an alien. I had him.
That's the Rancor
Yeah,
Keeper,
I
or he
had
was
him.
called the Rancor Keeper as the figure. They didn't know they hadn't come up with a name for him yet.
Yeah.
The Rancor Keeper.
Yeah.
But no, he was like a yellow and green frog type figure with really long arms.
Yeah. He was big. And it was
Yeah,
just
he was probably the biggest of the Return of the Jedi Kenner
toys you
figures.
could get.
Yeah, I forget what it was called though, but I had him. The only one I never had originally, bought off the racks, was Yak Face. I had to get Yak Face later.
Okay. You can still grab some pretty good like conditioned ones at Blast from the Past in
Yep.
Burbank.
If you don't want carded figures,
I still have a few survivors. I had a huge collection of Star Wars action figures from Star Wars Empire, and that I had as a kid. And my dog, so I left them out one day, and my dog chewed them up in the backyard. And it was just arms and legs and chewed up torsos.
Oh no!
And there was just a few that she didn't totally destroy.
I'm going to admit something. I might have admitted this before, but the only thing I ever shoplifted in my life
Was this
was a stormtrooper.
Oh, wow.
I found a stormtrooper at Payless Drugstore in Bellevue, Washington, and someone had taken him out off the card, and he was sitting there. He didn't have his blaster, but I pocketed it.
You know, I never had I had the.
I always needed more stormtroopers.
I never owned a stormtrooper, but I owned a TIE fighter pilot, and I owned the speeder bike stormtrooper.
Oh yeah, scout
You know,
trooper.
the scout trooper, but I never had a straight up regular.
Did you ever have an ATST pilot? I love those.
Yes, was
or an AT-AT, not an AT, an AT-AT,
yeah,
an AT-AT driver.
with like the kind of helmet that
Yeah,
came down. I
the
did have
AT-AT
one
driver.
of those. Yeah.
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 I don't know. Is there another super chat?
No, that's it for super chats. But I'm really trying to find this guy. Is this him?
That's him.
Yes, that's
there
it.
he is.
Yeah.
There he is. That is absolutely. What is
He
the
was
name?
like a shaman.
Doesn't
And
he look like the character that we saw today?
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know if they.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. And now I did not realize he had shrunken heads.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I'm like, I don't.
I remember the staff, but I didn't remember it had shrunken heads.
And I don't even remember what is the. Does it say what the name of
It
that
says
character?
his name is a man.
A man. That's right. That's what his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe I found it. I went on Google and I searched
That's it.
Return of the Jedi Kenner Big Boy. And that's what
There you
came
go.
A man. That's the figure. That's right.
So
A man.
Andor and Kenner talk. That's what you.
There
could
you
get
go.
for,
I don't
guys.
know. I don't even know where a man must have been part of Jabba's palace.
Well, they did release some toys that weren't in the movie, but they were supposed to be off scene.
Right.
So it could have been something like that.
A man. There you go. These guys, that guy was, especially the guy talking. You polluted our water because he looks
Oh, for
amphibian
sure.
to me.
The other guy was a different species.
Right.
The guy was
Yeah.
like, "Rah."
Yeah. Totally.
That's just Ray every day.
So is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
That is the end. Well, listen, Jonathan, this has been a great discussion.
I love coming on the Andor shows.
We've only got one more to do,
Only one more.
and then it's sad. I don't know. I want to thank everybody out there for supporting our show via Super Chat. You gave us something great to talk about there. So a man is in Jabba's palace. There he is, a man in the palace. Thank you for doing that. And look, we got a little Star Wars toy talk in, which is always good.
Yeah, you get a bonus.
We want to know what you guys think about episode 11 of Andor. Go right down in the comments below. Leave your comments. We read them all. And if you say something provocative, we don't get our feelings hurt. So go ahead and say that. I want to thank Taylor Gonzalez for producing this show. And of course, I want to say thank you to Jonathan Voico coming on and giving some very cogent comments and thoughts. What a lot of fun we've had today.
I've had a lot of fun. I like doing these. I wish I had a chance to do more than just two, but
Well, maybe you'll be next week too.
maybe so.
Maybe we'll have an epic show next week where we can have 4 people talk.
And I don't think they're going to leave us hanging on the next episode.
No.
Yeah.
No, I do think there's going to be some kind of a
Cliffhangers.
cliffhanger.
But I
that's-
mean, I don't think that it's just going to be a humdrum, ho-hum. Nothing
Yeah, I don't think
happens.
it's going to be a single. The cliffhanger is going to be more conceptual than anything else. Like the rebellion has begun. Like begun the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Or whatever, something like that.
But I think what's going to happen is
Cloners.
a lot like in episode 6. It's just going to be all this tension leading up to that funeral.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow on the John Campea Show.